Hello everyone, this is Nitpicking Nerd and I just watched the second episode of the second season of The Mandalorian and I enjoyed it a lot. However, this will probably be a very short review because there's not really a lot of story in this episode. There's nothing really to discuss or dissect, not a lot of character development. There is a new character, but it's kind of an alien, frog lady that we cannot understand. So not much of a complicated character, so there's nothing to discuss about that. I guess she's a mother who wants to fertilize her eggs and something. And there was also a lot of humor in this episode. There was kind of a repetitive joke of Baby Yoda constantly trying to eat those eggs and succeeding some of the time. And I am kind of a fan of gory humor and all of that, so I did kind of laugh at that, even though maybe it was a little bit too much. It kind of happened too many times and it wasn't funny anymore after a while, and it's also kind of nasty because aren't those supposed to become babies soon? And no one is really trying to prevent that, and so that's kind of funny. I do kind of like that this show is taking itself not so seriously, that it's kind of lighthearted with a lot of humor and a lot of kind of strange aliens like that aunt in that bar and all kinds of stuff like that. I do like it, and of course the visuals and special effects and action scenes and the way everything is filmed is pretty much perfect, and the action scenes are all great, and that's why I do enjoy it a lot. But it's nothing more than just an action adventure episode with not a lot of story, and so there's really nothing to discuss. I mean, I guess I can describe in detail how great all the action scenes were, and there was also that horror element with those monsters, those spiders who show up in the beginning. When that first started, it was kind of I thought it's a reference to Alien because they show that cave with all those little eggs, and then Baby Yoda opens one of them and it looks really like those eggs in Alien. So I half expected the face hugger to jump out, but then there is something that looks like a face hugger, but then Baby Yoda just eats it. So I did find it funny and I thought it's just a neat reference to Alien. But then all the other eggs started opening and basically giant spiders kept appearing, more and more of them. And it was good in that kind of horror way and kind of action scene way. So I enjoyed it a lot, but there wasn't really anything that original. There wasn't anything that I would say is amazing in the way of science fiction or fantasy ideas, because all of it we saw a lot of times before, but it was done very well. One of the things which I did find interesting was those guys from the New Republic fleet. I thought even back in season 1, when they showed the glimpse of those guys piloting the X-Wings, I really loved how they showed them to be the good guys of the galaxy. It really added some kind of a morality spice to all the situation in the galaxy, which is mostly like the Wild West. It's kind of nice to know there are good guys, like the good cops of the galaxy. So we see two such guys here, and I really loved all the parts with them, and also the way it was all set up, that we are following the adventures of Mando, so we're rooting for him. At the same time, his enemy in this episode are those cops who we also sympathize with, because we know they are the good guys, and so we don't want anything bad to happen to either of them. And so it was kind of it added some tension, and I especially loved the ending when they basically saved him in the end and also kind of allowed him to go free because they knew the truth about what happened, that he's not such a bad guy. So they kind of gave him a break and allowed him to go free, which I also liked. It shows that they are good cops who are trying to do the right thing in a difficult galaxy, and so they're not always strictly following the rules of the New Republic and all of that. They're willing to bend the rules a little bit and all of that, so that added. So I found those characters the most interesting characters in this episode. Like, I almost wish there would be a show about them. Maybe there will be later, because they are basically kind of like Starfleet in Star Trek. You know, the good guys of the galaxy who go around saving people and helping people and protecting the galaxy and protecting some kind of federation. And so the New Republic is like the Federation in Star Trek, and these guys are like Starfleet. And so I kind of wish there would be a show about them, even though in some ways maybe it would be more boring, because then they'd be the typical good guys who have to do the right thing, even though, as I just said, they do bend the rules. But it maybe wouldn't be as interesting as following the adventures of a mercenary who is willing to kill people and do nasty stuff to bad people, which is kind of more fun in a way. But you know, maybe for kids watching, maybe it would be more educational to see kind of more like a Star Trek, like the old style of Star Trek show. So I kind of wish maybe they do that. And the X-Wings themselves were super cool, and we first see them, you know, like cops pulling him over, And then they start opening up their cannons, and then he knows, oh no, I'm in trouble. And so that's probably my favorite part of this episode, the whole part with those officers of the New Republic. And I liked how they showed them to be good cops. And at first he almost manages to avoid them by just being polite with them and just telling them, you know, may the force be with you and all of that, and they're being nice. But then, oh no, this ship was involved in a jailbreaking in the previous season, so you have to check him up. And also he tries to avoid them going down to a planet, and then he flies into a canyon, and then they have to follow him. And I got serious nostalgia about A New Hope, you know, how they had to fly into the Death Star through that canyon, and that was deliberate reference, which was kind of nice and cool. And the way they showed how the displays show it looked exactly like in the old movie. So I like the fact that this show is not trying to reinvent anything and reimagine anything, and it keeps itself faithful to the old movies, while at the same time being awesome and showing brand new special effects, but still being faithful. That's how Star Trek should have been. And so I talked about that in my reviews in the first season of the show, and I compared it with Star Trek Discovery, and I said, why cannot that show do that? Why cannot that show be faithful to its fans? And so definitely visually this show is perfection, so I have no complaints at all visually. I do wish they would start to add some more story of substance and some characters with some more depth and some more complexity, so that I'll have something to actually dissect and discuss and analyze, and not just praise it all the time for the good visuals and the good action adventure feeling and all the great action scenes and all of that. But I wish there would be something more, and maybe there will be. You know, this is a series, so not every episode has to have some kind of complicated story, but I'm hoping that they'll start adding that as well. So that's the only flaw of this show. Otherwise, it's near perfect. I would say this is probably the most entertaining science fiction show I've seen in a long while, because it's just fun, and it's funny, and it's very pleasing to the eye, and it plays on our nostalgia, of course, but in a good way, and it builds on it, and it expands on it, and it makes the original movies even seem better now, because it adds so much details to every little thing in the old movies, that now when I rewatch the old movies, then I'll keep noticing all those little details, and I'll know there's a lot of backstory about every one of those alien races, and so all of it will become even better. And that's what a good sequel should do. It should build upon what was pre-established and make the previous version even better, even more interesting. So that's my thoughts about this show. Let me know what you think, and we can discuss it in the comment section below. And remember to eat your eggs and to lift a lot of weights if you want to get bigger. That's it for now, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.